Hello there, and welcome to another SWTOR stream with Villaveracino. I'm Kristy, I'm here with my husband Matt, and we're going to play some SWTOR while we talk about the episode of Andor that has just finished screening. And boy, that was an exciting episode. So we're going to be doing some heroics here on Balmorra. We love playing SWTOR. We play it a lot. And we find that we enjoy jumping on Twitch and just being able to sort of really talk and get our thoughts out about whatever the most recent episode of Star Wars was. And tonight that is Andor.
Yep, hey everybody, good to be on board. Yes, Balmorra is a aligned Imperial occupied planet at this point in the story, and we'll be running around as rebels, causing a bit of havoc.
I'm playing my main Republic character, Anaria. She's a Watchman Sentinel. She's my OG. She's the one that I play all the story content with.
Yeah, and my Commando, Sergeant Hadron, has been with me since the beginning. And in fact, we tend with our older characters not to change the gear up too much. Having said that, I quite like. I've tweaked this gear a little bit since the start, but I quite like this original Hadron Squad inspired gear. Yeah, one of the main things I've changed is upgraded gun, upgraded weapon that he's got there.
Yeah. I'm still carrying my very, very old lightsabers. I've got them stamped. These are not really available in the game anymore, so I've got them for sort of sentimental reasons.
Oh, that's cool.
They don't even have a tuning slot. They're that old.
No.
So I've got them stamped and kept safely in my bay. I've got all sorts of different outfits for her, but I thought I'd go with a classic sort of Jedi outfit. This gear has been in the game since the beginning. The old Tython drops, crafted stuff.
When most of spill the beans, you've got real life versions of those lightsabers as well.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. They were sort of in SWTOR before they kind of gave them to Revan, who appears in the game. So when the different saber makers started crafting Revan saber, I was able to get silver ones that look exactly. So I have this same exact hilt in real life × 2 with blue light in it. That was so I've got my in-world lightsabers in the real world, which is kind of cool. But without further ado, that's a little bit of an introduction to our characters and what we're going to be doing tonight. So I guess we'll jump on in and get talking about Andor. So let's go with industrial sabotage, the nice, easy, quick one.
So episode 6, entitled The Eye, was, as we predicted, the wrap-up of the Aldani story arc, the wrap-up of the Imperial heist arc. We saw the action that I've been anticipating for a while now.
Yeah, like, ooh, that one, like, you assume that everyone's watching has already seen the episode. That this is your final warning. We're going to be talking about the spoilers from the most recent episode of Andor. Oh my gosh, that was exciting. I had a feeling not everyone, sadly, was going to make it out alive, and that seems to be the case. I thought they might give us... Obviously, they couldn't go full Rogue One because Cassian has to survive, but I was curious to see just how many, whether it was going to be a full slaughter or, some of them will make it out, everyone will make it out. Sorry, I had a feeling I was going to tag that group,
yeah. I guess I'm surprised and not surprised at how many... I've got the feeling that they are wanting to convey the horrors of war, so there would have to be a few casualties associated with that. But yeah, it was depleted to we count of 2 in the hauler and
that
1
we saw
on the planet, effectively.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch because I feel like there was a death I missed. The undercover Imperial officer. Yeah. I didn't. See exactly what happened to him. I don't know whether they showed it or whether I just didn't catch it with all the sort of excitement that was going on. Or drama, I should say, rather than excitement, but yeah.
Well, there's a lot that I kind of predicted in terms of where this had to go, and I think that was obvious probably to everybody that something would have to go a little bit awry. That it wouldn't be a straightforward heist, and I think the main thing that happened there was the launch of the TIE fighters, that some of the comms was able to break through and we were able to look at what was going on. but there were definitely some twists that I wasn't anticipating as well.
Yeah.
Specifically,
some
of the deaths within the group.
Yeah. I thought maybe something might come of the sort of the local Aldani appearing to burn the goat pelts that they had received from the Empire as part of their sort of token exchange. And the way that they were sort of the Imperial officer didn't translate what he said to the other Imperials, that the tensions are quite frayed there, and I get the feeling that it's not going to be before too long before they do something there. Let's go to Hadron where they live, which feels a bit like we're attacking an Imperial base here. We're going to take out 8 snipers in this one.
Yeah. So, early on things were unfolding very predictably. Thinking just setting up their positions. We knew they had Imperial disguises, so it wasn't too complex. It was interesting to see the underwater approach taken by the two.
Yeah, because we were sort of seeing things from Cassian's perspective. We didn't know what their plan was going to be. We just knew that they were going to splinter off and have a slightly different role to play than the men that were part of the Imperial group that were sort of escorting the locals up to the sacred shrine.
One thing that struck me quite early on, interesting how we're getting the family side of absolutely everybody in this series. We've seen Cassian's family, his mother, and earlier on flashbacks his sister and his father. We've been seeing Cyril Khan, the Corsair, the corporate inspector. Yeah. His family. We've been seeing Mon Mothma's family, and now we've been seeing the Imperial Commandant's family.
Yeah.
And I think that's really just adding, I think that's intentionally adding a personal side to everybody in the conflict, pointing out this. That's something we didn't see a lot of in other Star Wars material referencing the rebellion per se. We get a little bit of backstory related to a few rebels or a few heroes and how the Empire's affected them, but not really seeing quite the spread of family involvement.
You come over the edge. We'll go this way. Yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. Interesting that we didn't see Cyril Khan in this episode.
No, we didn't see. It looked like we weren't going to see anything of the Aldani thread until the very end when we saw
Luthen and Mon Mothma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was good to see. Small, but good to sort of touch base. Sort of jumping around a little bit. I thought it was really sad the way that Mon Mothma is like, these people are going to starve to death and no one's paying attention.
Yeah. That's the planet population, whatever, that she's been referring to all along. She talked about that with her husband. Get past this track and droid with the truck. That's very close to water. Oh yeah, got lucky. Oh no. He tagged one of us.
I was stealth, so probably you.
Oh good. Sometimes it's...
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene at the end, and that it means we're jumping around in terms of the story was an interesting story element. That it was, that she would get action of the sort she needed.
Yeah, no one's sympathetic. I guess we're really sort of seeing the state of the galaxy at this point, that it's just sort of out for themselves, particularly on Coruscant. They're so far removed. It kind of reminds me of the sort of the vibe that we get in the Hunger Games, that the wealthy elite in the capital just have no clue what sort of, and have no sympathy. I've got the yellow token. that have no sympathy for the sort of the plight of the people in the sort of the outer planets, the outer regions and stuff. Do you have the yellow token?
Which no,
you can't see that console lit up.
Hang on, no, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it could be a couple of things. Partly ambivalence and partly a feeling of a lack of power with the.
It could be that the people know that you can't do anything publicly because you'll sort of incur the wrath of the Imperials, you know, so everyone's sort of playing along, trying not to ruffle feathers, just looking out for their own neck. And we sort of get a vibe of that in Cassian's conversation with oh, what's his name? Did you get the yellow token? I saw a yellow token. Oh, I got one.
No, I'm still looking for the
so I can't think of his name. Skeen?
Which one?
Skeen, the guy at the end.
Skeen, yeah.
Skeen, yeah. That the galaxy is definitely a place where people are unfortunately put in the position of looking out for themselves first.
Well, yeah. One thing that's coming through clearly in the Imperial ranks is that everybody's vying for power, and not just power within ranks. They're able to get like control over entire systems. We're seeing people given authority over regional systems, and when they do, they often puff themselves up quite a bit and, you know, expand their perceived rank or control. They like the appearance of power, and there's a lot of people sort of striving for that. We saw that on, I don't know, just finished on the line, I forget, where the person who was, you know, given the offices and he wanted to give himself the title of prefect, and the ISB dude said, yeah, don't care what he calls himself.
I wonder if that's an element of just arrogance or basically security. The higher up the chain you are, the further away you are from danger, as it were. You know, nobody wants to sort of be marched around by the stormtroopers and sort of be arrested. And the higher up the chain you are, the more sort of removed from that scenario you are.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still looking. I think I've picked it up a few times.
Very asymmetrical. One of us can get it, and not the other. Yeah, and the commandant on Aldani looked a little bit like that. He was really hung up on his dress uniform, and
yes, he wanted
talked about the locals
with such disdain.
Sort of bragged about manipulating them.
Yeah. But he's basically thought that they were stupid, that they were sort of so caught up in tradition they didn't even sort of notice themselves being manipulated. And yeah, you get a sense. And of course we got that shot from the trailer of the two Imperials sort of drinking coffee, whatever it is, where he's sort of talking about them being fat and satisfied. Which of course we see that literally in here, where he is perhaps been a little bit since he's put on his Imperial belt. They're sort of depicting that they're certainly enjoying the spoils of their position. They're not scrimping for food, they're not poor, but they still want more. You know, they talk about, you know, they're clearly doing well. His wife and kid are dressed very nicely, and he's obviously, you know, got a fancy Imperial uniform and all that kind of stuff and a position, but he still wants to be higher and somewhere else. He's like, you know, don't you want to get off this rock and be somewhere else, be somewhere nicer. Yeah.
And just something we talked about while we were watching it, his uniform kind of stood out because there's yet another variant of an Imperial uniform. They just decked it up with a few extra epaulets and the black collar.
Yeah.
His cap has an extra trim and a black.
Yeah, I assume that they're not like allowed to just make up stuff and just like add some bling to their outfit. Because we saw that with the with Cyril Khan. He upped his uniform to make him look a bit nicer and stuff like that. But I assume that the Imperials still have to follow some rules.
we saw a lot more of the Imperial forces
Oh yes,
on the planet.
I like the variant of sort of the Imperial costume that we saw Cassian and his three sort of rebel associates sort of marching in. I thought that that was kind of fun. It
Got a
wasn't
cap, but
it
they got
wasn't
the
like a
chest down and
jumpsuit, but it wasn't the shirts either. It was sort of like a mix. It was sort of like a more of a rugged shirt jacket thing with some of the armor plates over the front, giving me very much Rogue One vibes in terms of the design. I thought that was really quite nice. And of course, some classic Imperial officers. I'm sure that somebody's going to make the Commandant's. I thought the Imperial cape was really quite cool. The black one. It reminded me of this guy's going to get me the white Krennic cape. You know, sort of off the shoulders. It very much matches the style of the Imperial sort of costume. I thought that was fun. Okay, let's do Mandalorian Terror. But yeah, the heist itself, I was so nervous this whole episode because yeah, it has that element of Rogue One. We don't know who's going to survive, who's going to make it, but just with the one minor point of we know Cassian doesn't die. That's like the one thing that we knew. We didn't know if the heist was going to be a success and they get away. We didn't know if it was going to be a failure and he somehow managed to basically save his own skin and escape. I thought that that was really an interesting scenario that we don't always get in Star Wars, you know? We don't always, you know, sometimes we're like, well, they can't die, you know, because they're over in here. So we sort of, you know, prequels were somewhat unknown, but we still sort of knew where everybody had to end up. You know, certain people couldn't be alive in the original trilogy. Other people, you know, were Darth Vader.
There were a couple of twists in the heist. The first was that the comms guy who was very studious. He did a good job in terms of, it looked like he was working through the available sort of comm channels that when he started detecting the breakthrough in the rebellion chatter. And I don't know if it kind of stood out that early on they said that they still had access, comm access to the Alkenzi airbase.
Yeah.
So that was clearly the first wrinkle that additional forces were able to be brought into.
Yeah. It didn't add too much stress. They knew that there was like was it 9 minutes or something like that the patrol could be sort of deployed and get to them. Sorry, I'm just clearing my base.
That did give us the opportunity to see some very cool TIE fighter launches.
That was cool.
They gave us a good taste of that. The pilots jumping into the cockpits on the Rex TIE fighters, working the controls and everything. That was really cool.
Yeah, some classic sort of original trilogy.
The only thing I would have loved just a tiny bit more is if we'd seen the actual launch, if we'd seen the TIEs sort of coming out of the hangar bay, you know.
Yeah.
The one thing that Battlestar Galactica has over Star Wars is the very cool tube launch from the actual Battlestars of Colonial Vipers. And some fun seeing something sort of accelerate out of a hangar like that. But I love the TIE fighters and the TIE fighter pilots. Only 3 of them got launched. I don't know if they underestimated what they needed or this just represents the size of the scale of the airbase and its available fleet.
Yeah. This isn't a major... Well, like, we know that they're scaling it up. That, you know, that's why they want to flood the valley and stuff like that, because they want to build more. But yes, it's not fully... Which is kind of interesting that the Imperial still wants off. That, you know, he basically wants to climb the ranks, even though that is going to be a bigger base, a more major sort of position. That's basically, he's been there for a while and wants off. They kind of get the feeling that the Imperials think that they sort of deserve, you know, you do something for X number of years, you sort of deserve to climb up the ranks just based on your sort of years of service. And you can see that the undercover Imperial took great delight in basically, you know, finally being able to, talk freely to the commandant, you know.
Well, yes, he was not happy with what had been made to do under his command. He said that, yeah, after 7 years of working for you,
you deserve worse, because like for what, like that he's done some bad things that he's not proud of, and yeah.
Just as a side note, I was waiting to see how much of the sky light show how that actually represent that. That was very cool.
Yeah, and I like the fact that it showed even the Imperials stopping and sort of watching it. You know, because they had sort of pointed that out in a previous episode, that was one of the good points of getting stationed there, was it sort of not a prestigious position, but at least you got to see it.
Yeah.
We'll go. Oh, let's get all the Colicoid stuff done. We'll go to Colicoid Massacre first.
All right. So it was once they had the hauler into the air that things got really hairy with Nemec's injury, and of course they were relying on him. Didn't pick up on that straight away when I saw him injured. I just thought, oh no, he might not make it. Okay, I'll just count down this grenade throwing. 3, 2, 1, throw. I just was thinking he wasn't going to make it. He'd be a casualty, and that would have an impact on Andor because of his age, his youth. But,
and the connection that they had. Yes.
He was their navigator.
With his sort of non-imperial device.
His Polaroid camera, yeah. And so that introduced the interesting sort of decision node that Cassian faced in terms of continue as a plan or divert to get medical aid from Nemec. So it's an interesting development that he took the.
He knows it's a risk, route. But he
You savage. I'm going to turn.
Do that.
It's just a relatively brief diversion in the story. Planet we didn't see much else of.
Yeah, I like the escape. Sort of, flying through the sort of the meteor shower, and like that in itself. They had TIE fighters on their tail, but that was quite a feat. We're seeing how good of a pilot he is.
Yeah, it was interesting that he just had to trust in the navigation.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't look like the right thing to be doing at any point in time, in terms of diving through the light show. So Nemec getting injured in a way that forced a diversion. I wasn't quite expecting that. I didn't stop to think that if he was one of the ones that got taken out, that would have an impact on their escape in that way.
Yeah.
But of course, Skeen's proposal, his betrayal, I kind of didn't really predict that.
No, because he seemed to be the,
well, he believed the story about his motivation from his brothers.
And possibly, now just thinking about it now, that's possibly why he seemed so aggressive towards Cassian, because he was like, oh, this guy's got skills and could potentially mess up his plan to take the money and run. It was one more person that he was going to have to deal with, and he saw Cassian as a threat and wanted some reason to sort of basically take him out of the equation before the money was in play.
Yeah, someone who could uncover him and cause complications one way or another.
Because he had a sort of a story about how sort of being bitter and whatnot, and then we find out that it was all just for show. That he doesn't love the Empire, but he's keeping himself above water.
People are in planets. I've got 10 out of 15.
Okay, I'm all done, so we'll walk our way around. The lockbox wasn't in its usual spot, so I'm going to go have a wander over here.
Yeah.
And it's often over here instead.
Actually respawned
there it is.
in quite a wide area.
Yeah. One of the few I know that does that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the others are quite predictable in terms of their relationship.
They're exactly in the same place. We'll take out this mob when you've got that picked up.
very meager med packs out of that.
But yeah, the heist had me like, I thought it was fun that we saw sort of the old spy trick of coming in with scuba gear. And I love the, like, that felt like a real shot from the trailer where they're like basically rappelling down the front of the dam, because that's a real location in Scotland.
True, but speaking of things looking real, very early on we talked about how freaking cold it actually looked.
Yes, it did.
They were on location. It was very
I don't know what time of the year they were shooting up in Scotland, but yes, it did look very authentically cold.
Make a little bit of mist with practical effects or CG effects, but I don't know, that was very real. I mean, you know, that parts of those some parts of the UK can get very cold. Yeah, still I've got 14 out of 15 on plates.
Yep, we've got to take out the silver. I'm just grabbing a crystal. I was so nervous the whole way along, you know, and I think that's always like fun when you sort of feel the same sort of anxiousness that the characters do, about, you know, how, and the fact that he was kind of reassuring the younger member whose name I keep forgetting.
Nemec was the young guy.
Yeah, he kept sort of reassuring him, you know, the adrenaline will kick in, and, you know, it's just one of those things. Clearly.
Yeah, he was facing the reality of war for the first time.
Yeah.
He's understood it from a philosophical point of view in terms of what he wants to achieve, but you know, front line is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. I was kind of sad to see him go, but I get the feeling there was going to have to be some sort of emotional moment, something that's going to tip.
Yeah, well,
simply stealing money from the Empire was not going to be enough to turn Cassian's mind from his viewpoint at the start.
He was happy to help and get paid, but he is not fully invested in the rebel cause or rebel organisation at this point, because he's still keen on going. It's the,
not even sticking around to give the Kyber crystal necklace back to Luthen. He's like, you know, here, give this back to your guy. I'm out of here. Like, he doesn't even want to stick around that long.
He just wants to reflect on Nemec's manifesto, and that's going to have an impact. Realize.
Or there's something written in there that, some sort of information or something he's not expecting.
No, sorry, that's my fault. But there's some friends.
Yeah, that's fine.
Friends. So yeah, this, like I say, was clearly the end of the Aldani story arc.
Well, I'm not sure if it's the last we'll see, because there is a team member left behind, and we certainly, if we're going to get
the Aldani heist at least.
Yes,
we are revisiting everything.
Like, I get the feeling we might see a little bit of the fallout. Oh man, I did love the moment where we see Luthen in his shop being in sort of his Coruscant persona, and then when he finds out from the visitor about the heist sort of making the news and stuff like that. So I guess he knows that if it's made
well, it was referred to as a heist rather than a failed heist.
Yeah, that if it was just an uprising that the Empire sort of squashed, it wouldn't make the news, as it were. It would just be on some Imperial report that would be, you know, on Imperial only chatter. The fact that it was a heist means that a wider populace knows, or the Empire has basically put out a sort of a, you know, like, because we know that what's his face? From the Pre-Mor, he's got
Cyril.
He's got Cassian's sort of face, his hollow sort of record. There's going to be like an Imperial, like, you know, saying like, these rebel traitors perpetrated a heist, you know, be on the lookout, large reward, blah blah blah. And I think that's what's going to happen, and he's going to see the face. He's like, oh, it's him, you know, I'm going to dub him in, I'm going to, like, you know, try and catch him or something, you know, like, there's going to be a connection there. There's going to be a reason why he still has that hollow.
Yes, we need to wait for that to see.
I think he's going to dub him in. I think he's still, like, bitter. I could be wrong. But I think That's personally the more likely of the two options I see there. He's either bitter and wants revenge and is going to dob him in with sort of the Empire's help or whatever, or he's, I don't know, perhaps going to see the light. I don't know. I
don't
think
know if he's got enough. I don't think there's enough story motivation for him to flip sides.
I think he's bitter because he's basically ruined his life, ruined his career and everything he'd worked hard for, and is back with his family, sort of taking pity on him. And
what I'm saying in terms of story arcs, this was the heist was a chapter in its own right. At
yes,
this point, we don't know where Andor's heading. That story can go in any direction.
There are elements of the story that flow on into the next chapter, but yes, I do see the sort of the three episode chunks that we sort of focus on.
I don't know what the next episode will hold. I'm looking forward to that surprise because these last 3 episodes.
Because we don't know where he's going now.
Yeah, we knew that it was focused on the heist. We knew that each one would just follow on logically from the previous one.
Okay, we'll go to target of opportunity.
I think from the trailer. So we actually saw some Senate scenes. Don't know if they're the exact ones we saw from the trailer.
Yeah.
It's
all the empty.
Because we had talked about that along the way, and whether or not that's going to mean we see Palpatine as.
I'm hoping that they're going to keep that in their back pocket and sort of give us a little treat towards the end. You see Palpatine, on his Senate podium.
It might be, but they were kind of implying that the Senate's lost its power.
Yeah.
Lost its relevance.
True. Well,
so
perhaps we see him in his chambers or something, or
yeah, that's possibly more likely. I don't think I'm very much be wrong, but it was really giving me the vibe that the Senate chamber doesn't hold a lot of relevance anymore to the
I get that
machinery.
Yeah.
And if that is true, then it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to focus on it a whole lot more, unless it is for the sake of straight up Palpatine just issuing edicts, demonstrate to the people, the representatives of the Senate.
I think by this point, any kind of appearance of democracy is long gone. He doesn't need to get up on the podium to save face and try and get people to play along with his plan. He's got his plan, he's got his way, and it seems like everyone else is just fine and dandy to play along because it keeps them in a position of power. Since he got rid of term limits, I think it's safe to say that a lot of the other senators also are just going to enjoy long careers without too much threat. But yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. Just jumping back, actually seeing they had the stuff that they were stealing had sounds like gold bars and stuff like that. I'm sure they have a separate word for it, not gold, but I liked that it felt like just raw cash in sort of that money sense. We know that metals have always been it's a very tangible way of conveying currency, and that, and in real world and fantasy, gold and silver has always been currency that's been used, and it's kind of fun to have something very similar and tangible here in Star Wars, that it's not just sort of I don't know, like a digital currency or anything like that, like it was a physical, heavy thing. We saw, I've got to say, do you think that guy had a real heart attack, or was he faking? The Commandant, when he sort of collapses over. At the
moment that it happened, it could have gone either way, but the fact that they didn't follow up on it, I think
we haven't seen him, but we don't know what happened to his family either.
No.
I don't know if we're going to sort of get any kind of follow-up there. I mean, we might find it, because at the very end we saw the ISB agents all kind of okay, this has gone down, we're going to be here till midnight, get everyone, we're all hands on deck type thing. So I feel like we might find out what happened to the Commandant and his family as they gather intelligence reports, and there'll be somebody going, oh, the Commandant was you know, died and his family have
we'll have
been
to.
like
It's
blah blah
pretty-
blah.
I
Like
don't-
it'll come up. We don't necessarily have to see it because we are following Cassian, and once he's off planet, I don't know that we'll necessarily see anything. But at the same time, I'm kind of a little bit invested in the people there. They seem to have like, that's got the makings of their own uprising, their own rebellion.
It feels like unsatisfying storytelling if they leave some of those, if they just abandon some of those threads. So,
Yeah, especially since we saw Cyril Khan and stuff like that. Like we didn't care enough. We're not invested enough about the other, like the guy that was basically telling him not to write a report,
No.
and the other guy that was, you know, quite the true believer in the Imperial cause. We don't really. I like personally, I'm not invested in their story as much. Interesting characters, but I don't. Yeah, like they were really cool characters, interesting. But I don't know that I need to sort of follow their story. But I like the fact that we're still getting a little bit of Cyril Khan. So I hope that some of the other characters that we're meeting along the way, we also
on
sort
that
of figure
basis,
out.
I think it would be odd not to find out the fate. We don't have to dwell on it, but to find out the fate of the Imperial Commandant's family.
Because you know that if he
Just odd
died,
storytelling.
the Imperial would just be like, oh, we'll just put it out in the report that he was killed by the rebels. You know, not, you know, cover up the fact that he sort of, you know, died by heart attack or exertion or whatever, that they'll basically blame his death on the rebels. You know, say that he was like, you know, ruthlessly slaughtered, or, you know, the way that they'll put the sort of Imperial spin on it, and basically pin Imperial, like
Yeah, well, that means
like
the
the
APB itself
Empire,
will be-
the Empire took objection to what went on Ferrix, but when, you know, when it's their own money and their own people that have been killed, Andor's going to be basically labeled a, you know, a murderer, a terrorist, you know, all that kind of stuff.
This is something
And that's going to put him.
ISB
That's going to put him a lot higher on their hit list. And
Yeah.
the female Imperial officer might put two and two together. She might know, she might figure out that it's the same guy, you know, that Cassian is at these two places, that he was involved in a heist of the Starpath unit and a good chunk of
I
money.
don't remember the language that he used, but the ISB head
Mhm.
sounded like he was calling for any contingency plan for this sort of thing, any plan
Yes,
they had for
yes.
this sort of scenario be
Yes.
mobilized and put into
Yeah.
place. So he's going all guns,
Yeah,
blaring, blasting,
yeah.
because they know that if this sort of thing, they got us an example of this sort of thing.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
that's why
too.
he was talking about healthcare, you know, that it's easier to basically get rid of things when they're like small symptoms before it's like full-blown uprisings. And now they've had essentially a very brazen, not full uprising, but a very brazen attack. Some, you know, people standing up to the Empire and taking something, you know, really valuable. If we knew that 200,000 was a significant amount, for Cassian to receive upon completion of this. He obviously, I guess he's worried that the heat from this is so much that he's not even going to meet up with Luthen for those credits. Oh, I can't see the button, so this is your phase. You're going to have to click the
this
button.
is my phase. And
Yeah, so we'll have to redo it for me.
hang on. The button is not lighting up because this is intercept or background. I've considered
Yeah, you've got to come out here and make him run out the door.
Yeah, I saw him. This is a slightly. There we go. That's
Cool.
what that was.
Yeah, sometimes you
Yeah,
just got to
some
get
very
close enough to the
sensitive
door.
triggering of the story elements in this phase.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the other bits that I just really stood out to me that we didn't really complete wrapping up was Skeen's betrayal. Not strictly because I didn't predict it. I didn't think it was that obvious, but because
The way that Cassian reacted to it.
yeah, it gave us insight into Cassian.
I was worried it was going to be a trap. That was my thing. That he was basically
Well-
testing Cassian's resolve. You
Unless
know?
everybody was in on it, it's a risky trap. Because,
Yeah.
it's a convenient excuse to say that he was just testing him if Cassian ain't supposed
Yeah.
to. But Cassian possibly knew that if he just told everyone this, then it was just his word against the other. So we have to go and do it again.
No, that completed it for me. We can go on to the next one. Yep, it did.
All right, cool. But But the fact that so Cassian, he's been doing some interesting things. He's clearly very much on the edge. He diverted to the medical facility for Nemec, and then he shot Skeen, but he's still
possibly he
fully
wanted
on
somewhere, possibly because of his actions. I think, thinking on it, that he didn't want to exactly go straight to their base. He was looking for like he thought, well,
so he can bail out before it gets
yeah. So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
like obviously he does want to help the kid. I think he genuinely does. I'm just going to come over this way. David West says, hello everyone, just finished watching. Love the TIE fighters. Yes, I thought it was a trap with skin. Yeah, the TIE fighters were really cool. I always think it's fun to see like Imperial ships moving, you know, like the shot from the trailer with the Star Destroyer in the sky and stuff like that, and the TIE fighters. You know, we see TIE fighters, it felt very original trilogy, but we're getting that sort of modern high def, you know, where there's more detail. They don't need to fudge it because they can show everything. You know, they've got sort of, there's a lore established. We can see all the buttons and the costumes and stuff like that. I just thought it was really cool seeing them launch. And obviously, I wasn't, at the same time, it was kind of fun seeing them launch, but at the same time, I wasn't too stressed about them proving to be an issue. We know Cassian is a good pilot, but my first thought was when they seemed to be having a problem with the sort of the asteroid storm. I was like, ooh, TIE fighters are not strong. Their wings are gonna get, you know, ripped off. Something's gonna happen. The TIE fighters are just gonna, like,
it was established early on.
That was a good plan for them to escape. Yeah. That it felt like they knew that TIE fighters couldn't survive well in amongst that they would get damaged trying to chase them, and we ultimately saw that. We saw, you know, so little windscreens getting cracked and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, climbing down the cockpit. Because we've seen TIEs and all sorts of representations on those rack mounts. That's how they've always been represented, going back to EU and comics and stuff. But seeing people, and you know, hangar base, but yeah, seeing people get into them. Yeah,
it was kind of fun because it made me think of the scene in The Mandalorian where Moff Gideon sort of climbs out of his TIE. You know, it was, seeing them sort of being deployed like that was quite cool.
Giant ball.
Yeah. The modern filmmakers are having to come up with the way that, oh no, my inventory's full. Okay, hang on, I just can't pick up my beam. I carry a lot of toys with me.
Well, I've got half mine.
I gotta open some things. Okay, that should be better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I strongly suspect, to side note, that they're using third-party groups to make a lot of these costumes these days. I bet the TIE pilot helmets were made by the same guy that did the Navy officers for Solo.
Oh, because it's
they did do ties for Mandalorian. We saw ties in the later episodes of last season of Mandalorian, and they were made by the same.
Yeah.
So it's really fun seeing people in the behind the scenes climbing the ranks, from, you know, fan producers
hobbyists to actual prop makers for official. Because I mean, a lot of these guys, they've spent, you know, not quite, well, some of them decades, you know, honing these costumes and that, and their molds and their processes and stuff like that. It's just going to be so much cheaper, you know, than just.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nero Nova's supplying Imperial officer uniforms all over the show.
Yeah, that too.
Sitting a whole costume department trying to make them, and there's already a production line for them.
Yeah.
It seems like an additional work. The Seagull lightsabers came out the other side of the tent.
Yeah. But I like that this felt like a proper heist storyline in this particular episode. You know, we had them like literally loading, you know, for all intents and purposes, gold bars onto the things, and I don't know why my brain thought that was basically going to be loaded onto the vehicle, and they were basically just going to have to sort of break their way in there and steal it out. I was I don't know why I was surprised to see that they were going to have to move it all, because my brain was like, oh my gosh, there's like a ton of it.
Yeah.
You know, and basically enlisting the Imperial troops there to basically load it up for them. I was worried about, is it Cinta, the one that was left behind in the control room?
Yes.
I don't know how she's going to get off planet. Was that, it's like, because we're not really, like, I wasn't exactly clear on how many of them are basically natives to the planet and how many of them are just sort of there for the heist. So we don't know, you know, does she have family there? Like, yeah. I thought it was interesting that she was the one that basically made the first kill. Oh, I still got to kill some people. Sorry.
Yes, we still got 8 more.
That, yeah, when we hadn't, they'd basically been very clean, and then we had one guy sort of managed to draw a gun, and then we weren't sure who was going to make the first move. I thought it might have been Cassian, that he was going to be the one with sort of slightly, sort of the stronger resolve, because he's done that, and then she
was designed to test the audience, I think, because he was the guy that had his gun drawn, the Imperial had his gun drawn, was defending the kid, the mother, and the son. So he was doing something semi-reasonable, you know, righteous at that point.
Yeah, he was saying let the kid go. He wasn't saying let us go. He was saying let the boy go. That he was,
go down was, it's very telling.
But we know, I don't know if it was in this episode or the previous one, where we found out that Cinta had lost her entire family to basically stormtroopers. No, I think it was this one, wasn't it? Because we find out that the angry tall guy was an ex-stormtrooper, the one that was teaching them how to march, which makes sense. That's why he had experience.
Well, he was able to lead. He was able to lead their disguised squad because he knew the protocols.
Yeah. So yeah, because
bonus we can finish off the main.
Yep. Yeah, because they said, you know, you should have seen it when she found out that he was an ex-stormtrooper, because you'd be understandably upset.
I like seeing ex-stormtroopers. I don't know why.
We haven't seen them yet. What? We haven't seen stormtroopers yet,
but I like,
which is kind of interesting.
I like seeing ex-stormtroopers as characters. I like seeing.
Yes, yeah. We're seeing more and more Imperials, because obviously Rogue One is started by Bodhi Rook, you know, having a moment where his conscience prevails and he basically defects to carry Galen Erso's message to the rebels at huge risk to himself, obviously. And I like that we're sort of getting that here. We have an Imperial officer. Not quite fully defecting, you know, like he's staying within the ranks to use his position, and then we're getting the ex-stormtrooper. David said, yeah, good heist story. Had to have glitches to make it exciting from a tactical gaming viewpoint. I would have taken out the comms officer early on. Yeah. I get the feeling that as rebels, they're trying to sort of hold to higher ideals than the Empire and not kill people.
More minimal footprint, yeah.
That they didn't want to kill people. They were basically like, we'll, you know, hold you at gunpoint, but if you'll just play along and don't surprise us, we'll all... I think it was Vel that was talking about, like, we'll all just walk away if you don't, like, mess it up for us. You can all walk away after this. That they were basically, we don't want to kill you. But yeah, it did get to that point. So
we'll back up this planet, but we can do a shade more.
Yeah. Yeah, we did actually get through it a little bit quick. Should we do Taris? I haven't done Taris in a while. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I audibly gasped out loud when Cassian shot Skeen. Honestly, that gave me such a surprise. Like, thinking back on it, it was a very strategic move by Cassian. He was either going to have to agree and basically betray the rebellion by stealing the money alongside him and split it 50-50, and then kind of have this very tenuous trust between each other. He clearly doesn't really trust the guy because he, pulled a knife on him earlier. Or that if he declined, there was obviously the threat that Skeen would kill him to take the money and run. Obviously, I get the feeling that Skeen was trying to get Cassian out of the way earlier, knowing that he was going to have a scenario, however it played out, that he was going to have to take the money. We don't know if Skeen was going to be willing to basically kill the others to take the money, whether he was just going to basically find himself a scenario where he's going to kill them all. Sorry, I'm talking. Let's go do mutations first. Yeah. Yeah, well, we rebels are nice people, lol. Yeah.
So in terms of where the story goes next, we know there's definitely, I didn't show up in the trailer, but I can't remember. We do see more Imperial soldiers.
Yeah.
We get to see at another facility, so there's more Imperial encounters, more Imperial heists than that, but just make straight up sense. And we also know that...
Refresh my memory, how many episodes are there in this season?
6 and 6 to go.
Wow, okay, yeah. So there's definitely a lot more story to go.
Yeah. And so, and Cassian, we know that he's heading in the direction of the rebellion, so he's got to be involved in more Imperial encounters. We've made predictions about what Cyril Khan's going to do and what the ISB are going to do, but I think the realistic thing is just where Cassian's direct story is going to go.
Yeah, and I don't know, because we know that there's going to be a second season. That's confirmed. We don't know how connected and on board with the full rebellion he is going to be at the end of this, or whether that is going to be what we see in season 2. How he goes from sort of going from like...
Season 2's... it could go either way, but my guess is
it could be that he joins the rebellion at the end of this one.
Yeah.
And then we see what he kind of does with the rebellion in the second season.
I think that's more likely.
Because I feel like it's going to be a little... I don't want to say unsatisfying, because I obviously don't know the story. But I personally want to see him kind of complete that sort of personal progress in this season, rather than waiting next season to see the rebellion. Because everyone knows he's with the rebellion. If they dangle that out, stretch it out. But at the same time, I kind of want to get long, in-depth Star Wars stories. We knew that Obi-Wan was going to be a one-shot, and
12 episodes to get Cassian's story in terms of joining the rebellion is plenty. The second season, we know is going to have significantly more time jumps, that they're going to be separate story arcs separated by about a year each, taking us all the way up to Rogue One, which is a near 5-year span. So I think this one's going to be about Cassian cementing his loyalties and his ideology with the rebellion.
Well, I mean,
next season.
Even though he was doing it for more selfish reasons, he did essentially save that money from being stolen, so that it can be used to the rebellion. He was in the position, he could have just jumped, he didn't have to go in to the room with the doctor. He could have just taken the money and run. He was basically
just taken a whole lot and run.
Yeah, he could have, he didn't have to sort of explain himself, but he wanted to. He went in there at great risk to himself to explain, this is what's happening. I just want to take my money. I don't want fuss. I'm not a bad guy. I just want what's owed. And we don't know necessarily what he discerns as his cut of the money. Clearly, it wasn't just going to be divvied up 6 or however many ways. 7. Let's go to total elimination. That obviously, I would assume he is aware that the bulk of it is to go to the rebellion, to buy ships and supplies and whatever to help fund the rebellion. They don't need their cut of 80 million. So yeah. That I assume he's just going to take his 200,000 out of the money, because that's what he was basically promised from Luthen Rail. And if he's not going to meet up with Luthen Rail, then that's just what he wants. He's just like, I just want to take what was promised to me, and I'm going to be out of your way. You can
He seems to put quite a lot of stock in the kyber crystal, though. I don't know if that's because it has value or because he feels obliged to get it back to Luke and Rail.
Yeah, or whether he basically just doesn't want somebody tracking him down to get it back. He just doesn't want any lasting connections. And Luthen may... It'll be interesting to see, because he was like... He seemed worried that he wasn't careful about not being sort of tracked back to Cassian. So it'll be interesting to see if he feels like he's going to be like betrayed by Cassian, that Cassian didn't sort of come back because he's like, I want the necklace back. Or will he sort of feel like Cassian kept his end of the bargain?
Okay, so what I got from David here in chat. Surprised at the suddenness of Cassian shooting.
Oh, yeah.
Sad the boy died. Thought he was going to get healed, but a tiny delay would put them in jeopardy.
Yeah, I was sad about the boy too as well. That was another one of those moment, because I was like, oh, they got, because you know, there were basically the main jeopardy seemed to be when they were being sort of under fire, running for the ship, because we saw one of them go down, and I was like, oh, but he seemed to be safe, and I thought, you know, you get lulled into that false sense of security. You're like, oh, they're safely on the ship now. Then what we're going to do is escape. And then, oh, there was like, you know, that was a bit of a left field moment that I wasn't expecting. To put him in jeopardy. And he was like, I was like, oh, that's going to... Oh.
This way?
Sorry, it's all right. I'm just clicking. I'll come back around. Yeah. He... wasn't exactly innocent, but he sort of had that young, innocent, you know, somebody that was doing it for really authentic reasons. Everyone else seemed a bit bitter and twisted, and he wasn't. He was very philosophical, and we saw him referencing, you know, writing about using mercenaries to fight against the Empire and stuff like that.
Hesitancy and trepidation. I don't think he'd faced anything like this before. I don't think he'd been on the front lines before.
Yeah. And he was nervous. In a way that the others didn't seem to be. But I thought it was neat that we saw Cassian reassuring him. He's not cold-hearted, telling him to sort of just like, you know, toughen up or anything like that. But yeah. Now I don't know if we'll actually see Vel again. I assume we'll perhaps see something of her with Luthen. We don't actually really know how, like...
Well, she's got an action figure.
Yeah, like...
She's going to have a little bit more of a role, maybe.
Because she was kind of the leader of the group. I assume she has a larger role with the rebellion. I don't think she's a native to the planet. I don't actually know who is a native, but yeah. But I guess it would have been, I don't know how it would have played out if the group had, like, I wasn't sure how I wanted it to go down. I know that I guess I kind of wanted all the rebels to survive. You know, you always want the good guys to win. Well, I do. I know some people are Team Darkside. But I wanted them to succeed, get the money, make it to the rebellion. And then I was kind of thinking, well, maybe like Luthen's like, well, good job on that. Here, I'll like, you know, it's sort of double or nothing. I'll give you twice the money if you do this other thing for me. Let's go do Fall of the Locust. But yeah, I had a feeling that, yeah, I mean, every time we see the rebels coming up against the Empire, they're always, it's a bit of the sort of the, you know, imbalance.
Yeah,
you know, the Empire's always got firepower and numbers and stuff like that, and obviously sort of the upper hand, and yeah, that every time the rebels go up against the Empire, there are going to be losses. It's, yeah, just the sort of inevitability of it, and I think they knew that. That's why they were all sort of deathly serious around camp, because they knew. But I thought it was interesting, just thinking back on it. Vel seemed really nervous about basically telling everyone it was go time. And we saw...
it just felt like that was conveying that she had less experience than... I think they were all a little bit less experienced.
Because Vel seemed to have to basically, like... Oh, there's a lockbox here. That Cinta was having to basically chase her up and go, come on, let's go, type thing, and yeah.
Yeah, she said, actually, speaking of it, Cinta seemed to at least hesitant at all times.
Yeah, she was the one that fired the shot. She just sort of, yeah, saw what needed to be done and did it. Perhaps taking just that kind of emotion boiling over her, wanting to sort of take her hit against the Empire.
They referred to her as being one of the hardest in the team earlier on.
Yes, that's true. They did. Just going to take out this group here. Yeah, now I'm left wondering how much of any of these this rebel group we're going to see going forward. It's not exactly unheard of for us to have merch of characters that don't get a lot of airtime. I mean, no. See how much Darth Maul stuff there is in the world before, obviously, he got brought back. But yeah, his minutes of screen time, and certainly Boba Fett certainly got a lot of action figures despite his minutes of screen time. So it'll be interesting to see whether she will be with the rebels. And I'm curious to see if we'll actually see the rebellion as a larger group in this first season. Yeah. I'm
not sure exactly when Yavin was established, to be honest, but I hope we go to Yavin. If, as I say, in season 2 we span everything up to Rogue One, then we'll definitely go to Yavin.
Because we haven't been to Yavin yet in this series, have we?
No, because we still don't. Like I think I said I can't remember if it was a podcast or a stream. I really want to see the state of the
rebellion at this point. Yeah,
I'm curious as to who's involved at this point.
I don't think
iteration of canon.
Certainly don't think they're on Yavin yet. I think too many years between we know that they move around because they were like, there was a base on Dantooine, but it's been abandoned. So it'd be fun if we saw them on Dantooine, because tying into that reference, we know that they were on Dantooine at some point before A New Hope.
Dantooine in the live action. We've seen Dantooine in this game.
No, yeah, you can actually go to it. It's quite fun. It's obviously a major planet in the original Knights of the Old Republic game. It's where you spend some time. It is it has a Jedi base in it, on it. That would be kind of fun if we saw that.
Yes.
Interesting that we're still not getting a lot of droids or aliens so far in this series.
Yeah. No, in fact, sometimes I look at this and because the way they use old tech, and the way that Star Wars has always used old weapons to represent galaxy far away weapons, and they're leading into that with some of the comms technology. Yeah. Sometimes I look at it like that the dude with the mustache that had the elaborate headgear, headphones and stuff. It almost looked like we were looking at a World War One British sort of war story at a couple of points there.
Did I click on the thing? Sorry, the conversation's up here. David says, I think Val just had nerves. I hope the Empire doesn't wipe out those natives. Yeah, there was a part of me that's like, was worried about like if the dam got damaged and it's just going to like wipe everyone out in the valley, which I think is what the Empire is actually planning to do.
They're not going to have access to that area. Yeah, well, they're going to build over it. One way or another.
Yeah, because they were talking about whether they'd care, but I got the feeling that there was a conversation about basically destroying the dam. I think I have to go back and watch.
I can't remember if the dams itself's going to go down, but they're certainly not going to. They're not going to have access to the area anymore.
Yeah, and they sort of talked in mocking ways, basically like they're going to put them to work. Sort of,
building over their own sacred land,
yeah, that they'll get to visit because they'll be, working there rather than just pilgrimage. Oh, my bays. I'm gonna do
this. Yeah, we can go that way.
No, I'm just. Oh gosh, the stuff. Let's see. Take that down. Keep that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Sorry, my bays are clogging up. I carry too much stuff. Okay.
Where are we up to?
We should do enough bonuses going down this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the Empire thinks that this was the work of the natives and will retaliate against them.
I think the involvement of the ISB means they'll work it out.
Yeah. That we may see some of the surviving Imperials give testimony or evidence or anything like that. You know, it was these people and they were just like that and they were talking like this and I don't think blah blah blah. Like it was too coordinated to be like, you know, the locals and
like
stuff
you say,
like that.
I think one way or another it's going to be fair that it's reasonable to think that Cyril Khan will recognise Andor. I think that's a reasonable prediction.
Yeah. Because his story is not over and I'm like, there's definitely something more here and it's going to be interesting to see how this connects up.
And I think they know that if it was just a local insurgency, they wouldn't be escaping off planet. They'd just be causing havoc. Yeah, an escape plan off planet doesn't seem consistent with the locals.
David says, "Hey, what happened to the Black Commando? I know the group guy got shot."
We're gonna watch it again because
yeah, I didn't.
If he got shot, it was quick.
Yeah, but they kind of like focused on the ones that got hit. I don't think he did.
Yeah, well, we're gonna watch it again after this one.
I don't know that if I saw him jump on the ship either.
No, he's not on the ship.
Yeah.
92% sure he's not on the ship.
Yeah. Let's go do Nightfall. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if he was never intending to leave, that he was supposed to just sort of, I don't know. The fact that they needed the Imperial in his hand meant that they were going to figure it out.
He can't stick around and still pretend to be Imperial. I think his cover's blind.
Yeah, and he seemed to take a lot of glee in telling them, you know, about it, so I don't necessarily know.
Unless everyone else in the room is dead, including the Commandant, his store's cover's blind.
Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't pick up necessarily why that second group came in. Or was it the power cut that just sort of drew their attention?
Second group?
Like when they were like, they had the Imperials loading the gold onto the ship.
Yeah.
And then the other Imperials came in and they're like, what's going on here? Like,
no, that was the comms guy, the one that...
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure he was the one that got suspicious because he heard the...
That's right, he could hear, Valley 1 and stuff like that. Okay, I gotcha.
He saw a scene that wasn't quite adding up, despite what he was being told, and, you know... Yeah, she did a good job. And
we assumed that, like, we saw Cinter at the end, but we didn't kind of get, because I was worried. I was like, oh, I didn't see what happened to her. Last we saw her, she was basically minding that office with the wife and kids sort of still as hostages, and then we saw her out with the other group. We don't know whether she's basically just going to disappear in amongst the locals and has her own way off. Clearly there is a way. They must have known that once they pulled a heist like this, it's going to be almost impossible to smuggle ships onto the planet the way that Luthen landed there to drop off Cassian. They're not going to be able to do that.
No.
So I don't know if she was intending to get off the planet or whether this is her planet. But yeah, they said that her family was killed by stormtroopers, and we haven't seen stormtroopers on this planet. So I get the feeling she's from off-world and just is sort of siding up to strike back against the Empire. I don't know if we'll find out more about her or basically her disappearing off, and we'll just sort of get get some sort of comment from another character filling in, basically like she's gone back to her people or something like that, you know, basically saying, you know, she survived and has just gone back to do what she wants to do. Yeah, definitely a lot of little loose threads in this one. Very keen to see how everything kind of filters down in the next episode. I think it's not like cliffhangery as such, but it definitely has enough threads in this to sort of keep me really wanting to find out what happens next. I mean, I was so excited to finally get to the heist, you know, with that sort of build up of him training, and it felt especially kind of cruel because, you know, more episodes of them sort of practicing and training and stuff like that meant more time getting to know these characters, which was going to make it all the more impactful or hurtful, whichever way you sort of frame it, if they were under threat or fall during a conflict, which we saw. Because it really does look like Val is the only one still alive, and Cinta that we saw. And I'm like,
I'm guessing she's going to interact with Luth and Raoul because their interactions so far imply that they're having an ongoing.
Yeah, that she's the one that has the connection to the wider rebellion.
3 more.
What's
mobs
that?
At least. We need 3 more mobs at least.
Okay. I'll go out the door. Yeah, so we don't know if she's completely relying on Luthen to get on and off world. They don't seem to have a ship anywhere hidden. Not
No.
that we might not have just not seen it. Because she made reference to the fact that they were like sleeping on rocks and eating, you know, pitiful rations and stuff like that, which makes it sound like they're kind of isolated. They don't have a lot of, they're basically relying on outside assistance. You know, they're basically living the sort of the peasant nomad life there, very authentically. They're not wealthy. But she does seem to be completely on board with the rebel cause. I don't question her motivation, but then again, I was kind of blindsided by Skian as well. So I thought he was. It makes sense. Like, I thought his mistrust of Cassian was because he was just didn't want to be sort of betrayed to the Empire.
Yeah,
and it just turns out that yeah, he was planning to do the betraying, and they often say that like people are paranoid about something that they themselves are guilty of. You know, that if somebody's cheating on their spouse, they become very paranoid that their partner is cheating on them. So that kind of makes sense. That he was planning to betray people and run off with the money. So the idea of a mercenary who was basically just doing anything for money.
We actually saw an example of that. I can't remember who said it to who, but one of the Imperials asked if they're going to kill, but oh, you're just going to kill us all. Might have been Val that symbolized it.
Yeah, because that's what you would do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's projection.
Yeah. Okay. You want to keep going, wrap up these last 2?
Well, at least one of them to get 5 out of 5.
Oh, yes. Record release. Yeah. Good episode, though. Felt like a lot of the designs, like the Imperial costumes and that, and the location felt very new, but it felt very sort of original trilogy era. I thought that the design and the feel and sort of the desperation of the rebels sort of fit in. It feels like it fits in very well with The New Hope and Rogue One. I'm personally really loving the series so far. Neither of us can pick up goo, can we? Just leaving it all there. check out Min 33. Looks like Com Guy shoots him after Skeen pops the trooper next to him. I may be wrong as it's very blurry. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely have another look.
We definitely yeah, we definitely have to go back, and because there's just a lot to take in, you know, when I certainly think back to Star Wars, it's like you notice every little detail and you think, well, yeah, because I've like watched it like countless times, you know every line of dialogue, all the music and everything like that. But yeah, it's our first time watching it. There's a lot to take in, and it always helps to know where a plot is going to go. You know, watching movies second time around, you can sort of notice different things because you're not paying attention. You don't have to sort of concentrate on the dialogue and the story quite as much. So we really
watch it a second time. It's slightly less than a week before you get the next
yes it is. Yeah, we've taken to watching each episode exactly as it drops, which seems to be very consistently 10 minutes before. And then we stream, we talk about it, then we go back and watch it again, and then we go watch it again when we record our podcast. So each week we're watching things at least 3 times. So to sort of get a real good...
We haven't quite got into the habit of watching everything once the season wraps. Because,
No.
I some more than others.
Yeah.
We've got to do that for Kenobi, I think.
Yeah, sit down and watch it all in one sitting. We've certainly marathoned the movies. We haven't done a series marathon yet.
We watched Rogue One before this one rolled.
Yeah. David says...
we previously watched Rogue One and Ep 4 back to back. That's a good way to do it.
David said, like this episode, lots of grit and action. Yeah, definitely. I know that some people would possibly not be too fond of the last 2, but I think that they were important setups. Certainly if you take it in the context of a movie, that movies feel balanced because there are quiet patches and lots of action. With series, sometimes just the way that you have to sort of cut the story up, you'll get just an entire episode where it's, story and sort of plot building before you get to the action bits. But when you look back at it and play it all together, it all makes sense. And the pacing works. It just feels a bit torturous when that's all you're getting for the week.
Well, I'm just a little bit torn as to whether this model or the Netflix model is superior. Something drops on Netflix like Stranger Things, we lose a lot of time watching all in one hit. That's what would be happening with Star Wars. But then sometimes it does feel just a shade slow from week to week.
Yeah. I don't know whether, I certainly did enjoy the really sort of strong dose of something like Stranger Things, where you sort of get really stuck into it and you see how the story progressing, the beats, but then it's, if you're not the kind of super fan that can devote half a day and into the night, then you can't go online because you are going to get spoiled. And I guess that's David says, had to watch last week's show at midnight as I missed it earlier on. Yeah, so there's not everyone has the luxury of, because I mean, for a lot of Americans, these shows drop in the middle of the night, and not everyone has the life or the job that lets you just be a bit tired the next day, or yeah. Do you want to do the last one?
I'm just going to clear this inventory.
Yeah, I'm a bit bogged here too.
Yeah, I think we might as well.
Okay, cool.
We've seen sometimes by doing an entire planet rather than just the minimum required, we do some content we don't do as frequently.
David says, I kind of like the weekly show as it gives me something to look forward to. Yeah. I feel like...
It feels like Star Wars fills your life if it's something you're looking forward to.
I think the gaps between episodes would feel series would feel very long if you could just binge it all in one day, essentially. I think as much as it sort of feels a bit torturous, I think I like the weekly
Well, we're not that far off Tales of the Jedi hitting, and we don't know the
Yes.
run times of that, but we'll get that all on one hit before
Yeah.
Andor finishes. So what's that? That's 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Shorts. Looking forward to hearing Liam Neeson.
Yeah. David says, what about Mon Mothma watching all those people leave? Yeah. That was really sad. Like, we kind of know that there is... have you done this? No,
Investigate
you've
the
got
crash
to...
site. No, hang on.
Oh, you just got to come in
There we
at the
go.
right angle.
Again, it's one of the...
Yeah.
It's one of the... Trigger the right zone.
We
You
knew
said that
that
Mon
she was sort
Mothma.
of fighting an uphill battle, you know?
Getting more of her story than I thought.
Yeah. That you think, like, she's having her moment, she's getting to address the entire Senate, and then you look around and no one
more
is
of her story, I
listening.
mean, more of her origin story. I mean, I thought we'd see her as a rebel leader, but we're seeing her
Yeah.
really
As a politician,
forced into it.
trying to you know, do the right thing, because this is even her planet. This isn't even Chandrilla.
No.
You know, she's trying to sort of help the galaxy, help people in need, and nobody seems to sort of care, or nobody wants to risk drawing attention to themselves, or, you know, mysteriously vanishing. You know, like, she's talking about there are spies everywhere and stuff like that, and I think some people are just keeping their head down. They don't want to draw attention. They want to keep their job. They don't want to die or go missing. It's like this is a planet that gets token drops. But yeah, it's sad when she's sort of trying to do her job, and it looks like a lot of people are just taking the paycheck and the position and the society and the money, and not really. I mean, if it's, you know, Senate session and no one's really there.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty pods.
Yeah. There's a lot of people just doing it for the power and the position, the connection to the Empire, without having to actually put your life on the line, on the front line, or anything like that.
In some instances, they'll be absent in person or in spirit for personal reasons, but also I think it is
Just the
because of
people that just
failure
got
of
up
the-
and leave. Yeah.
I think it is the failure of the system, the failure of the... Well, not failure, but it's the strength has been pulled out from under them.
Yeah. David says it was like they were all getting text that something was up. Like, like being basically told, like, don't turn up to this. Yeah, like there's a sort of an underworld sort of within the Senate, that if you stood there and listened to her, it would look like you were on her side, perhaps. So they're sort of avoiding it, being told to sort of ignore her or to leave. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting perspective.
You're welcome.
All right. It's 2 whole planets, I guess.
Yep.
We're looking at wrapping things up at this point.
But that was such an exciting episode. I felt nervous like the entire time about the heist, not knowing, is it going to even work? You know, is Cassian just going to be having to, like, you know, fly away and escape with just the shit on his back because the whole thing just goes up in flames, or are they going to pull off the heist and it's a success, or somewhere in the middle? Turns out it was somewhere in the middle. They did steal the money, almost all of it. You know, there was like one sled of like gold that they had to leave behind because it sort of tipped over. But they've certainly taken a chunk out of the Empire. 80 million credits, which is I think it's fun. We're kind of getting a sense of you know, currency and money. You know, we've always been aware of like credits and stuff like that, but yeah, I think the one reference that always sticks in my head is, you know, Luke selling his speeder and stuff like that. That's like the one sort of reference for sort of like currency.
The cost of the flight all around.
Yeah.
Could almost buy a ship for that.
Yeah. So we have a vague idea about sort of, you know, the value of things in this world, but yeah, it's kind of fun. You know, 80 million credits. Certainly took them a long time to load. But yeah, very much looking forward to the next episode. It's kind of so open-ended. I don't even know what to expect from the next episode. We don't know where he's going to go. Like, you don't think he'd go back to Ferrix, but is he going to go back and like rescue his mom? Is he going to take some money to pay off some of his friends? Is he just going to find a completely new world to go hide in? It's just, I don't know. You know, I thought he was going to meet up with Luthen, you know, sort of, you know, keep his word. And to you know, from a certain point of view, he has kept his word to return, you know, that he would do the job for 200,000 and return the necklace. And it seems like he has done all those things. You know, he's basically ensured that the necklace will be returned, get his money, and then he's off. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Because if the Empire now controls Ferrix, I don't necessarily know that he will want to go back there. He must know that they're on the look for him. So I don't know what's up next. I guess we're just going to have to wait 6 days and however many hours it is left till the next episode. Any closing thoughts?
No, I looking forward to it. Yeah, looking forward to seeing where it goes next. We'll getting into a groove where we're doing more streams between these post-episode conversations.
Yeah.
So we will have other conversations about this to varying extents, but any other Star Wars news as well.
Yep.
So if you're following us in Twitch and feel like joining in at any point or listening into any of the archived streams, we do talk about Star Wars in general when we're streaming, even though we're playing the same game for the fun of the game.
Yep. We've been enjoying playing Manan, that new area. And doing PvP, getting back into PvP more, getting my people geared up so they can place a little higher in that. But yeah, I guess that's it for this Andor spoiler chat, our weekly recap of the episode and playing SWTOR. Thank you so much to everyone that came along, joined us in chat, or just watched along silently just to hear our thoughts. We always enjoy you taking your time to listen to us talk about Star Wars. Andor was definitely exciting for us, so we enjoy having you guys to join us for you playing around with the emotes. You're making me laugh. So yeah, I guess that wraps us up for tonight. We're gonna jump back on and go watch the episode again because that was a good one. Definitely warrants a rewatch. So yep, thanks for you guys in chat. David says it's been great. Have a good night, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. And we'll hopefully see you guys all next week. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Take it easy. See you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.